to conduct the next portion of our program as a kind of fireside chat. And I'm going to interview Volker. He's given me permission to call him by his first name, even though we've just met. And we're going to talk about redefining business in hospitality services and running a business from a smartphone, which I think is what a lot of people try to do, but maybe don't succeed in doing. So we're very delighted to have you with us here today. And I'm going to ask you to start with an introduction. What is Hospitality.digital?
Okay, so thanks for having me. As you know, it was a really just-in-time arrival. Hospitality.digital is one key digital unit of Metro. Metro, most of you may know, is still the world's number 3, number 4 food wholesaler. And Hospitality.digital is very much about the HoReCa industry, so hotels, restaurants, catering industries. And our aim is to digitize the entire chain that you need to master in a restaurant today. So we always say we are very much there for the independent restaurateur. And this is something which is becoming more and more important going forward to help this industry, honestly, to survive. I mean, after the pandemic, this has been a real struggle for some of them, some restaurant owners, and so that's what we are doing. We were founded in 2015 already, with the intention to look for innovation in wholesale. It was pretty clear for Metro, company needs to become more digital, and the company swiftly realized this can only work if our customers are digital. How else should we build a digital relationship with our customers, so restaurant owners, if they are not digital? Hence, we started building digital applications, like an online table booking service, like a pickup and delivery platform, like a website toolkit, so you could set up your website within 5 minutes. And it has been pretty successful so far. We have created one of the largest HoReCa ecosystems for restaurant owners in the world. So we have 250,000 restaurant owners connected to our platform. It's called dish.co. So it's a company, 400 people now. As we heard a lot about talent, it's really hard to get all the people on board and to keep them. So attrition, I can only confirm, is I think north of 30% in our case. Certainly, we have to do something. That's what Hospitality.digital is about, yeah.
That's great. That's very interesting. And I think you've touched on this answer already, but I was just curious, what was the mandate and goal that Metro AG is aiming for by launching a separate company?
Yeah, so I believe it was a discussion back in 2015, right? So how to approach innovation within the global corporate. Certainly, as you all know, there are certain models you can learn from. In the end, though, it's about, and we also heard this in the speech just now, it's about delivery, it's about execution. And it was pretty clear to us that Hospitality.digital, I mean, digitizing a sector which stands for 70% of the value of Metro. When we started thinking about that, we realized, so you can either mess it up, and that's might be then pretty bad for the company as a whole, or this is an opportunity. And hence we decided to outsource wholesale innovation, in our case, into a separate unit. We gave the unit specific targets. Actually, honestly, the only target was what you do needs to have an impact on the core business. So I think this is way ahead of the, let's say, early 2000s. Where we're going to experiment something in the internet and let's see 5 balls in the air. If we grab none, no problem. Here it was pretty clear from the start, we need to create something which has an impact on Metro as a whole. And we need to create something which is about digitizing processes, optimizing processes. And the conclusion of the board was to say, look, we can probably only do that if we create a team, if we acquire talent, if we keep the people separate from metro, I mean, I'm not commenting on this. You can see that it's bad, it's good. This was about having, if you will, an internal incubator and have the people really focus on something, which was about, so care about our customers, think about the key processes you need to work on. So actually, we always say Hospitality Digital has been about process innovation, not so much about the applications we have launched. In the end, it's the key processes of the company, and you will have realized, if you really look into it, if transformation works, then you get it right on the process end. If it doesn't work, very often, you messed it up on the process end. So, the mandate was to innovate based on our own processes, so different from the Metro AG processes in terms of working together. So Hospitality Digital is a completely agile company working in the cloud. Still today, 80% of our people are working from remote. You can't imagine this in a Metro corporate environment. Of course not, because the business model is about serving people in stores. Of course not. So we always need people on the ground. But from a paradigm shift to here is something which is, in terms of people, in terms of processes, in terms of delivery, in terms of execution, different from what we do at Metro. This was the idea. And I think we have done an okay job in creating something which has value for Metro today.
Wonderful. Could you tell me specifically, I have two questions for you, but they're related, so I'm going to ask them together. What kind of journey did it take to create your mobile solution for the hospitality industry, and what is the role of CGI?
So on the first one, mobile, I think, how to put it, we learned about it very much from our customers, from our restaurateurs. So we decided in the beginning we need to be very close to our customers when we try to innovate. And we assigned 200 test restaurants, so restaurateurs who were willing to work with us closely, who were willing to try applications, digital applications like online booking service, like a pickup and delivery service. And we wanted to get feedback actually from the restaurateurs. And then we get a really good understanding of the industry. I have to say, across 16 markets. So we are delivering our services into 16 markets. But one key point was very clear, and that wasn't different from, let's say, the Nordics or, let's say, Eastern Europe or Southern Europe. Specifically, the younger generation of restaurateurs said, you know what? Actually, I want to run my restaurant from my smartphone. So everything needs to come here. I want table bookings here to go here. I want pickup and delivery orders to go here. And honestly, I want to run my cash register in the cloud. And when we then started to work towards that, I mean, this was back in 2016. It was actually only 6 years. But if you look at how the industry has evolved, let's say there were some skeptics to say, guys, I mean, this industry is so different. Do you really think that people will do everything? And then we realized, and the pandemic was there, and then we realized, we have to do that. It was, as I said, very much coming from our customers. And in the specific case of the restaurant industry, it was also coming from end customers like you and I when we enter a restaurant to experience, a nice 2 hours or so, or 3 hours. Then we realized, okay, we need to have a mobile-first agenda. And now to the second one. So we had a conversation with CGI on exactly that. So look, this is where we are today. CGI is behind actually the website toolkit that we established very early. I think it was 2017 when we set it up completely from scratch with CGI. So look, we need a mobile-first agenda. And then we thought about potential applications. And one application we launched in the midst of the pandemic, it was, we called it Dish Guest. That was the registration system via QR code. So when you enter a restaurant, you just put your handset there and then you were in, registered with address and contact information and so on. CGI, I've been working with CGIs for a long time. Their role specifically was about, what make it happen. This needs to work in the end. If you imagine an online booking service or a guest check-in service for this industry, and it doesn't work when a customer, a diner, shows up at the restaurant, and it doesn't work, so then that's an issue. It's an issue for our customers, so the restaurant owners, because they may say, well, guys, what kind of application is this? We certainly would be losing trust with our customers. Mm-hmm. And then potentially the end customer, so the diners in the restaurant would say, oh, what's going on here? I'm not going to go here again. I mean, this is just messy. So CGI's role was to make sure we have a stable service, we have a scalable service. Again, we try to push our services into 16 countries at the same time. And I would say they have done a really good job in making that happen. And we are still in this project in trying to define the next level. What does it mean to run a business from a smartphone? If we look at the data side of things, also heard that in the other speech. So how do we manage that? How can we make use of the data legally? So how do we make sure that there are no data leaks and so on? We are safe when it comes to potential hacks and so on. So this is what we have been working on with CGI, big time.
Great. What do you think is important in experimenting with new service models and technologies that enable them?
You need to put money on the table, first of all. I think that's a key thing. I think it's certainly that differs from industry to industry, and I think the span is huge. You can sometimes, as I was talking about process innovation, sometimes it's maybe just a tiny process innovation that you try. Like in a call center where you try to digitize a process where you needed people before, and you can move people to some other work, more educated work, for example. Sometimes it's It's a 20K, 30K pilot, MVP, so the buzzwords of the 21st century, minimum viable product, launch that and see how it works. Sometimes it's that. In our case, though, unfortunately for our shareholder, it's in most of the cases pretty expensive. Why? Because the processes we are working on are naturally, if you will, pretty complex. So if you run a restaurant, you have, let's say, a cash register in the cloud, a POS system, and you want certain functionality, or we believe we should change something to make your life easier and ours too, then that, in most of the cases, I could imagine this is complex. So we need to think about data, we need to think about security, we need to think about the right process. Again, a process that doesn't mess it up, so doesn't actually attack the trust position you have built as our customer and Metro has built with its customers and end customers. So I would say the span is huge, can be 10K, can be $1 million, can be 6 weeks, can be half a year. So we are currently running a project of introducing a cloud-based POS system for restaurant owners. This will take us a half year. So we want to launch in France in October, so roughly a half year, and it's certainly costly. But at the same time, we do know if we do that, if we introduce that, if we optimize the processes, if we manage the data right, then that will have a positive impact on Metro's business. Overall, I think, personally, from my experience of the last many years in digital and digital transformation, I think you, to a certain degree, as a corporate, if you do something like Hospitality.digital, you need to be a risk taker to a certain degree. So I think that's clear, because you cannot, I believe, you cannot expect from a young unit to deliver business impact from day one. And we all know the business cases, of course, PowerPoint slide, we also heard that, PowerPoint slide 1, 2, 3, business case. This is what's going to happen in year 2, and this is certainly, what's going to happen in year 3 or 4. We all know it. That would be nice. In most of the cases, that's not the case. So you have to be clever, you have to be adaptive as a company. And if you do something, I said, if you do something like this, I think you need to be a risk taker. You need to trust your people. And at the same time, you need to ask them to always look for the impact of your core business. In our case, we do know that people who use our digital services buy more from Metro. So their basket is bigger each time they come to one of our stores and more frequently. And this is what we over time carved out and could present to our shareholders as a justification, if you will, to say, look, there's direct revenue, but there's also indirect revenue, if you will, or indirect value of what we do, because we can measure that the digitized customers create value on the side of Metro. And honestly, I think before starting something like this, a journey like this, it might be advisable to really think about that from day one of the journey and say, what impact is it we really want to achieve? And I would bet that in most of the cases you would realize, okay, let's think about process innovation first, then have that unit try to deliver against something new and innovative.
Very interesting. And how do you see the hospitality business evolving as an industry in the future?
So first of all, I think it's a great industry. I believe most of us will like it, love it, because it's not so much about food, actually, I think you would agree. It's about the experience that you have alone, with your friends. Culturally, this is, of course, different, and the way end customers look at restaurants, and if you and their focus, then certainly this may differ from geography to geography. But what you can see already is that restaurants are more and more seen as, if you will, event centers. So where people meet, where people maybe even in advance before entering the restaurant order their food. And there are some event centers, restaurant 2.0, 4.0, if you will, that actually endorse that and support that. So come here. All we want you to do, dear diner, is to purchase the drinks here, bring your food, bring your friends, and have a great time. So if you then look at the technology end of that, how to enable that and how to serve end customers who want that, then this is very much about booking service or table booking services that needs to be at your fingertip via the smartphone, clearly. You need to be able to order food, you need to be able to purchase your meal in the restaurant, let's say by using a QR code or using other easy-to-use, convenient digital applications. So I think that it's clear with the young generation of diners, people going to restaurants, they want that, it's clearly. So I think in terms of enabling that, technology needs to very much think about enabling experiences, customer experiences. On our end, we do that. So we still have our test restaurants, we still have our test diners, and they like it because we pay for the food. And we get the feedback from our customers and customers. That also means in terms of the processes, I think, you need in development of such services. The only way, I believe, is as a company then to become, we heard this before, agility, very agile. So you need to be able to adapt to customers, in our case, the restaurant owners or end customers' needs, and you really need to be able to scale, to do this across a number of markets, because customer behavior in our industry across Europe, yeah, it differs, but when it comes to the core of creating great experiences, creating, don't make me think services, where customers simply want to book and eat and go away, that is something where technology needs to think about solutions, needs to think about convenient solutions. Companies like Hospitality.digital need to be fast, need to be probably 100% in the cloud if you want to scale across markets. And of course, those companies need great people. Need this war of talent we heard about. Certainly, I said it before. I can only confirm that, and that's key to understand how the industry is moving, how young people are moving, what they want, how they look at the world, how they look at a restaurant, how they look at the wholesale and food industry. And if you think, in our case specifically, if you think about the evolution of the food industry, what people want to eat and what not anymore in the future, this has an impact on the restaurant industry. This has an impact on the way customers want to order food, for example. Is there a restaurant where I can have vegan only? Yes, no. So I think we need to come with, don't make me think, easy solutions, digital solutions.
Very good. I'm curious to know, how has the development and growth of such a digital first been perceived by the parent company, Metro AG? Because it sounds as though you've really gone and done things that were not done before, and that's always tricky.
Yeah, it is, as we all know. I mean, this is transformation, right? So this is about changing behavior. This is about changing business models. This is about really tapping into the nerve system of your parent company. If you really want to do this, and if you really mean it, then at some point you, again, as I said, you are touching the core processes of your company. So in the beginning, Hospitality.digital was more seen as, okay, they are kind of a think tank. They think about the future. That's great. Let's see if they come with something. In the meantime, we're going to go focused on our business and all is fine. But it was pretty clear from the beginning, when we acquired test restaurants, when we talked to customers, when we realized that, okay, on the side of the processes, there is optimization potential. At that point, it needed strong support from the then CEO, Olaf Koch, from the top down. So it was pretty clear. He was behind it. He was behind it for a very long time. Over 5 years, he really pushed the digital agenda from the top of the board into the organization. And I think that was, when we talked about how to do that, that was instrumental in doing that. So this was the clear intention to change a huge global company and to do it the digital way. So hence, yes, there were skeptics, but over time, once we delivered, and we avoided to deliver kind of the big bang thing. We did not do that. We said from the beginning, we are learning, we'll make mistakes, please accept that. What we avoid doing is messing things up. So we were well aware of the trust position Metro has with its customers, and we tried to be careful in touching the core processes. We did that. We involved people. We communicated a lot. And then I think over time, over the last 5-6 years now, the employees have realized, okay, there's certainly only one way into the future, which is to transform Metro and to make it an even more digital company. And our new CEO, Steffen Greubel, is exactly about that. Now it's actually the next phase. We are making digital part of the company, the core company. We actually always talk about 3 circles. It's the stores that we have. It's the digital solutions that we deliver, and it's the delivery business. We call it FSD, food service delivery business. So if those 3 circles come together, that's the future of the company, and this is where we are actually with digitizing our customers right in the middle, where actually the circles touch each other. That's what we're about.
Excellent. And you have already answered this on many levels, in that you've given us some really invaluable insights. But what could other consumer companies learn from the digital strategy chosen by Metro and the journey of change that was made by founding Hospitality.digital?
First of all, certainly it's a journey. And I think you cannot plan an agile undertaking like this in a spreadsheet. You can, to a certain degree, but you need to, I believe, you need to accept that agility actually means to react to market needs, to react to customer needs. You can plan a waterfall project and you can think about everything before you kick it off. We all know once you launch it, the market has moved on. will you then have the solution you are looking for at that point of time? Or have you missed, 12 months, 18 months of, let's say, evolution on customer end? So I think, first of all, it's to accept it's a journey. The second one we touched upon before, I think you need to be ready to take certain risks. This may be equivalent to put money on the table. But number three, build the team you believe you need and then have them go. Trust them and have them go and tell them not so many things. Please don't put so many KPIs on them. Don't give them 150 KPIs they need to deliver against, and number of customers, and frequency of purchases per market, and site visits, and. Give them the key ones, which may be just a single process. Optimize our key customer service process, whatever it is. Reduce the number of customer complaints by that. Try to build something which pushes the Net Promoter Score, the NPS, by 10, 15 points. And on this journey, tell us how you do it. And I think it's baby steps you need to do in the beginning. And that's something you have to accept. And in huge corporates, I think sometimes that is not accepted because you're, of course, looking for a big project, a big bang project, because it sells well with the market, then that's fine. That's all fine. But if you're about innovation in the digital space, I think take the baby steps and talk openly about it, that this is about learning and that you are becoming a learning organization, which I believe resonates even better with the market than saying 17 months from now, we're going to big bang launch this project, which probably won't even happen.
Yes. And I think we have time for audience questions. One audience question before we go on our next break. Do we have anybody who would like to ask a question? Yes, in the front row here. Can you just shout? I think a microphone is on its way.
Hey, hello. Hey, thanks for the talk. It's really inspiring. You talk
Thank
about
you.
two things that I think are a little bit mutually exclusive. So you start by saying you live and die by the process and it needs to be scalable. And then, of course, you're talking always about being agile and taking in new, let's say, feedback from the market. Practically, how do you marry those two things, right? Like, do you have like a set of, how do you resolve conflicts or set priorities, or how do you win arguments as you try to adapt and process?
Yeah, and I think I made that point before. That really needs executive support. Sometimes, if you say, "I'm going to change this key process of the company, I'm going to do this in a very adaptive and an agile way," certainly the question is, "Okay, how are you going to do this? What is exactly going to happen to this one? And can you already let me know the outcome?" Say, "No, I can't." I think we try to do it by looking at the process as is. So, what's the pros of the process, of the process, or the positive sides, and what's the negative? I don't know. Customer service is always a good example. They say, "Look, there are customer complaints on this or that process on the website, for example, on how they in the back end manage the configuration. In our case, of their digital menu card. Sometimes it's a tiny thing." But for us, it's a big thing, so that restaurant owners really can configure the digital menu card easily. And we said, okay, step by step, we're trying to optimize a little bit. So we try to hack the process into pieces, the existing one, and then try to optimize a little bit here and there. Actually, same idea, baby steps and not the big bang thing. And sometimes, of course, we then simply need executive support. And in most of the cases, it's the CEO saying, "Okay, I want that." And I think that's what you need.
Super. Thank you very much, Volker. Unfortunately, we've had so much information here that we have to wrap up.
Okay.
But we very much appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and speaking with us live, which is such a treat
Yeah.
after these 2 years of virtual
Indeed.
everything.